wonderful to see so many familiar faces and also some new ones. It's very exciting. I'd like to get the family back together. Just to let you know, toilets are down the corridor just to the left of the lift. And if you would be kind enough just to put your phones on silent so we don't get any interruptions. Hopefully you will help yourself to refreshments by now. And have been chatting to some of our existing team of volunteers just to get a feel about what volunteering is all about for the show. I was going to introduce you to John Blenko, who I thought was coming today, but he's coming on tomorrow. Here is John. A lot of you will be familiar with John. He was a volunteer from right back in 2011 when we very first started. And he has been at the show volunteering every year and has done pretty much every role, including the demonstration kitchen, and I think he helped in the quilting exhibition for a time. John's agreed to be my boy Friday, should I say, my man Friday, and he's going to be our volunteer coordinator this year. John is already coming into the office one day a week and helping out with various administration tasks, and so you will be hearing from him over the course of the next few months, and during the show he will also be helping me as supervisor. Now, those of you that are familiar with the event volunteers, we have had interns who've come on board, and it's been a great project for them, and they've got a lot out of the experience, but for me it's a lot of hard work having to do the retraining every year, so I've decided not to have an intern this year. So it will be John and also Joshua Bennett, who's at the back of the room. Josh, can you just stand up and say hi to everyone?
Hey everyone.
Josh is very new to the society. He started about, was it a month ago?
Yeah, just under a month, yeah.
As our new receptionist and administration support. So on the days that John's not in the office, Josh will be helping with the administration part of the volunteer programme. So you'll also be hearing from him. So on your chairs you would have seen this booklet that has all of the roles. It is in its absolute infancy, and a lot of it has been carried over from last year, but it gives you an idea of the roles that that you will expect to do over the show. And I've also given you a copy of the slide presentation if you did want to make any notes as we go along. Royal Adelaide Show, the largest event on the South Australian calendar. We had our first show in 1840, which makes 2015 our 240th show. No, we're not having a party this year. I think we had a big enough party last year. So last year was the Society's 175th anniversary, and it was marked by a 10-day show, which was extremely successful, and we can now expect that from now on, going forward, the show will be a 10-day show, but still starting on the first Friday in September. I'll just let you know our mission statement is the Royal Agricultural and Horticultural Society of South Australia contributes to the promotion and success of South Australia's primary industry through the staging of events and the rewarding of excellence. What we do now as a society, we educate the community about the importance of primary production to the South Australian economy, and we encourage and recognise excellence in agriculture and horticulture through the staging of competitions, exhibitions, education programmes and the Royal Adelaide Show. We have about 62 competitive sections, starting with I think what the first one will be, probably alpacas, and going right through to whip cracking. So if you've got anyone who might want to sponsor one of our trophy or prize in our section of competitions, now's the time to put your hand up. We're starting to collate our list of what's hot and new for 2015. We can confirm our feature breeds in the beef cattle are Hereford, the dairy cattle, Illawarra, pigs, Berkshire. Dogs, we have Labrador Retrievers and the Shetland Sheepdog. And poultry, we have Wyandotte and the Wyandotte Bantams. And I don't know if any of you will remember Tinker Tailor, fashion maker from last year. To replace that, I know that we have got a new show which is called Earth. And all I know at the moment is it's a mystical journey exploring the circle of life. More to come later. And the feature cookery this year is India. Just to tell you a little bit about the volunteer programme. 2011 was the very first time we actually went out to the general public and asked them if they would like to volunteer for the show. Even though we've had judges and stewards that are classed as volunteers since the year dot, I suppose we have about 400, 500 of them every year. So 2011 was the first time we had the public volunteering, and we had just 28 volunteers that year. Last year we've gone up to about 135, so you can see how the programme has been growing. We would like to just pointing out that volunteering provides you with the opportunity to participate in the show. It will help you to develop new skills, and in return gives you the opportunity to increase your contact with the community, and we hope that you will bring your skills and knowledge to the show. Introduce a wealth of experience to the volunteer team, and remember that volunteering is always a matter of choice. And I think that's very important that you always remember that. We hope that you'll form new friendships. I can certainly guarantee that that is one of the things you will do if you volunteer for the show, is make new friends, and most of all, have fun. It's a fun event and we want you to have fun. As you can see Myra on that picture, Myra was 90 last year, so we've got a huge age span across the programme, which is really good to see. Now this year I'm introducing a casual volunteer role. What I've found over the years, especially students who are very keen to sign up to volunteer, and then they get their next semester timetable and say, oh, I can only do like 2 or 3 days, and it's we've always said that the minimum requirement is 6 days involvement. So this new casual event volunteer role gives volunteers the flexibility to just come on board for 3 to 5 days and maybe just do a shift for 2 or 3 hours. But the roles are very, the type of roles you can jump into at any time. You don't necessarily need to have that continuity and training that some of our other roles need. So some of these roles would include being a gate attendant, helping responding lost persons, stamping the yellow brick road passports, helping in the hand washing areas, the exhibitor lounge, the farm walk stamping station, and quilting. Now, you might all be thinking, well, I'm a past volunteer that knows how to work in an information booth, and I know the show well enough to be able to do some of these roles. It doesn't mean that as a full-time returning volunteer you can't do these roles. So even if you can only be involved for 4 days maybe, you would still be able to do information if that's something that you were really good at. So I'm just trying to introduce much more flexibility in the programme rather than just saying that it's a flat 6 days or sorry, you can't come on board. We do still have our full-time roles, which are for 6 or more days involvement, and their shifts from 4 to 5 hours. Now, these roles you need to have that familiarity and consistency, especially if you think about helping down in the olive oil tasting. The people that run that found last year that with new volunteers going in there, they were having to explain what they've been doing every morning, where they just want someone who can rock up that's been doing the role for a couple of days and sort of carry on doing it. So these types of roles do need to have consistency and a little bit more show knowledge. and they are all laid out in the roles booklet. Now I'm just going to go through the roles just to give you an idea about what to expect if you did any of these roles. So here we have Anne Bone, who is one of our conveners from the Art and Craft. The quilting exhibition last year moved to the Duncan Gallery with all the other handicrafts, and it looked lovely in there. I think it's found its home. It was really good. And we need 2 volunteers in that area. And the main role is really making sure that showgoers come into the exhibition, but they're not bringing in food and drink and touching the exhibits. So that's the Duncan Gallery and the Jubilee and the Goyder will all be open from 9 till 8 every day of the show, so we need to make sure we've got cover in that role for that time. The volunteer in that role needs to love meeting people, has excellent communication skills, friendly and helpful. An interest in quilting would be beneficial, but it's not essential, and having the ability to wear a big smile is also very important. Here we have Wendy, one of our volunteers that's been on board since 2011. She probably won't thank me for all that photo, I know it's the only one I had at the lounge. Again, that's mainly just helping with stock levels. We operate this lounge, which is for the commercial exhibitors and volunteers. And it's a nice place where they can just go and make a quick cup of tea and coffee. And there's also a microwave where the exhibitors heat meals up. So it's just checking on stock levels and being aware of other locations of nearby toilets, and baby changing rooms, and all that sort of thing, because you get asked both of those questions as you go along. The gate attendant role is something that I think it's one of those roles that you, it depends on the day and what the crowd's like as to what gates we go on. It's normally the River Gate, which is just out here. What happens is you get the buses coming into the turning circle, you get the trams coming in at Goodwood, so you get this massive tidal wave of people arriving at the same time. And it's really someone out there just to be a welcome for show patrons. If they're lost, or if they need to know where they've got to go to get tickets, or if they've already got their tickets, just pointing out the entrances. And it's also a real good opportunity to go, if there are any queues, to go up and down queues, asking if any guardians would like to fill out a lost person's wristband. So we not only do we give them to children, we also extend it to vulnerable people as well. We were meant to be introducing surveying visitors, but that didn't actually come into fruition last year. I'm not sure whether it will this year. But again, the volunteer in this role needs to love meeting people, have excellent communication skills, be friendly and helpful, and have a big voice and not be scared to use it. I don't want any sort of shriek violence and just sort of huddle on the barriers. You need to be out there and giving them a presence and a warm welcome. Now, last year our rural roles rotated. We had volunteers in the Ag Learning Centre, the Farmyard Nursery, the Farm Walk Stamping Station, and also one of the Yellow Brick Road stops, which was planted corn in Botanic Gardens. That won't be happening this year, that was just a one-off last year. Whether those roles are going to rotate or not, I'm not sure. The whole concept of rotating roles, some people liked it, some people didn't. I thought it would be a nice way to introduce one of the roles that was a sitting down role, so you can take a load off for a little while. Because when you're standing up for quite a long time, it can get a bit sore on the legs. But one of them is the Farm Walk Stamping Station, and that's one of the stops by Vintage Machinery, which we look after for the whole day, that stop, and it's just a case of stamping the passport, giving out stickers to the kiddies. The Farm Nursery and the Learning Centre are where the children, or anyone who's been through those animal handling areas, wash their hands, and distributing stickers to the kiddies that have washed their hands successfully. I've actually been told that that's not happening this year, so again that role is a little bit up in the air at this stage. Now, the Channel 7 news desk.
us now to our Amazon correspondent with 7 News Experience, where anyone can become a 7 News reader in the show. Share it.
Hi Jane, well here we are on the last day of the show. The show's been absolutely amazing this year. I've had so much fun, I've really enjoyed my volunteer experience. I've met so many wonderful people. I recommend everyone to volunteer. If you're interested, next year, make sure you visit the Royal Show website for more details. Make sure you watch 7 News nightly at 6.
That was Frank, who was a new volunteer last year. And the Channel 7 News Desk was new last year, and as you can see, people get the chance to sit and read the news. The volunteer in that role helps with the crowd control, just making sure people are queuing nicely, and then registering visitors on a laptop, I believe it is, or a pad of some sort. Chat with waiting people as well. And I think everyone that did that role really enjoyed it, said it was really good fun. So that starts at 11, runs from 11 till 6. We have 2 or 3 shifts covering that length of time. And again, volunteers need to love meeting people, have excellent communication skills, basic PC skills, be friendly and helpful, and have a big smile. There's a bit of a theme emerging here with our time for volunteers. Demonstration kitchen. I think we've had this for about 4 or 5 years, have we, Victoria? I know you were always 2 years. I think it's 2 or 3 years we've had this role. Again, this is the IGA demonstration kitchen, which is just located down here in the Goyder. We start at 10:30. I think the first demonstration is at 11 o'clock. It's helping preparing food, cleaning, handing out any leaflets. Does that pretty much cover everything you do, Victoria?
Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
Cleaning,
Yeah. So you're kind of up on the stage and a bit in the spotlight. You don't do any presenting, but you are on show. I think we're having the same coordinator back as last year. She was new last year, so I think she'll be back again this year. And there are a couple of days when we have we have a professional baking competition, and I know the role changed slightly on that day, and you just helped with the cleaning up after they'd done the judging for the professional baking. Commercial exhibitor attendant. Now this is a bit like an information booth, but you're actually just inside the Jubilee Pavilion, and you're there as a point of contact for when people come in and they say, oh, can you tell me where I'll find the Yellow Brick Road in here? Or can you tell me where I'll find Desi's Ugg boots? Or is anyone selling massage chairs? Or can I get a chamois leather? So all those sort of queries that you get about our commercial exhibitors. We had a rather nice setup last year. It was a high counter reception desk. We will be equipping you with much better information than you had last year. The person that was in that role didn't tell us until he filled out the feedback that he hadn't got a very workable list of exhibitors, and why didn't you tell me? I would have done a better one for you. So there's a few little adjustments we might make into the role. So again, that's one of those roles you need to be familiar in. You need to love to meet people, have excellent communication skills, you need to be friendly and helpful, and have a good knowledge of our exhibitors. So before the show, we provide you with plenty of literature so you can do a little bit of homework on how things are set out there. It's a very large pavilion, and visitors find it difficult to locate their exhibitors, so it's really just, I think a lot of people come in and just know where the nearest toilets are at the time, but it's nice to have the answers as well. The show bag pavilion. This is one of our busiest roles, one of our most loved roles, I think. It's one of those roles that goes very quickly because it is a very, very busy role. So just inside the Wavell Pavilion in the entrance area, actually we've gone from a trestle table to this massive stand now that has informational banner across the front, and it's great. We've actually arrived somewhere at last, which is really good. So people come up, they don't know where Bertie Beetle show bag is, and the volunteers in that role are equipped with all the information on a list so they can direct them to the stand that they need to go to. Again, we provide lost persons wristbands, so any children come in that don't have them on, we sort of say, oh, would you like to put one of these on little Johnny? So it's a busy role. Volunteers need to be prepared to cope with a lot of face-to-face traffic, I suppose you'd call it. So be able to thrive under pressure, have excellent communication skills, love meeting people, and most of all, love being in that show bag really. It's not for everyone. Some people who said, oh no, I don't want to do that, and then you put them in there for an hour or two and they go, oh actually that's really good, I loved it. So it is a busy role, and then we'll find the busiest times on Saturdays and Fridays, we'll make sure there's an additional cover in there as well. And the archives assistant, this role has been for a couple of years now. The archive is open from 10 till 5. It's a case of helping out archivist Marilyn, greeting visitors, answering any general show questions. She does prepare some basic questions, and I think they're in the roles booklet, the type of questions that you might get asked. Izzy, you've done that for a couple of years, haven't you? And I know that it's a role that we need to have that continuity, and it's a good role, very good role. It's mainly sort of meeting and greeting and just being there to ask any questions. The cellar door experience assistant. Now the cellar door is in Taste SA. It offers 6 20-minute educational wine tasting presentations each day, starting at 1:30. They last, I think they're every hour, and the last one is at 6:30, and it's a beer tasting presentation. We did beer tasting last year, and again we're going to do the same this year. Each session is limited to 40 people, and the role is to assist with the setting up of each session and tidying up afterwards. An interest in wine would be advantage for this role. Isn't that right, Ian?
Because of my experience?
Yes. I'm asking you because you love that role so much. So that role is, we need to be in, to cover that role from 1 until 7. It's, again, meeting, greeting, assisting with the setting up and the cleaning up of each session, and answering any venue and show-specific queries. There are chances for you to have breaks while the session is running with that one, so it's a bit sort of sporadic. Have I missed anything out, Ian, that I need to point out for that role? I've pretty much covered everything.
You get a break while the session's on. When you're busy, you are busy.
Right, thank you, that's good to know. And the olive oil tasting is actually in exactly the same venue as the cellar door, which but it happens first thing in the morning. We offered a volunteer support for the first time last year, and I think it was quite well received. Did you do that, Jessica?
Yeah.
It's good.
It's fine, yes, I got that.
Good. So that's again helping with the running of the 3 sessions. The first one starts at 10:45. It's setting up, pouring out olive oil, getting leaflets, etc., etc. So again, the volunteer in that position needs to love meeting people, excellent communication skills, friendly and helpful, have a big smile, be organised. Yes. Yes.
Does that mean that you have to do it in our session times, and you do have to do 6 days plus
To do those roles as a first-time volunteer, yes. And I'll talk a little bit later on about the time of shifts. But as a first-time volunteer, if you want to, as a first-time volunteer, you can still come on board and do those six or more days and do those roles. You don't have to be a past volunteer to do those roles. But you just need to be able to commit to 6 or more days. So you're familiar with the role and you know what you're doing, but the time day 3 or 4 comes along, you go, great, I've got the hang of this, or you're on board for the rest of the time. Okay? Now, last year was our very first year that we dominated the information booths. Was fun. This year we're planning on dominating the Yellow Brick Road booths as well. There will be some, because I know you probably know that the information booths are next to the Yellow Brick Road sales booths at all the entry gates. We're looking at the possibility of actually amalgamating them. So, for instance, if any of you are familiar with the railway entrance, how we had that set up, we had two people doing information, two people, they were kind of all together. So we're hoping to be able to do the same sort of setup in some of the areas. So you'll all be sort of within the same unit, I suppose you call it. Now, information. We need to be in place by the time the gates open at 9 o'clock in the morning. All shut at 6, apart from the atrium west one, which stays open until 7. You're providing information to the public about all areas of the show, including the daily highlights. They might want to know what time the dog judging starts, what's on the main arena, where's the show bag pavilion, where's the candy floss man, where are the toilets. Well, lots and lots of information coming at you. So you need to be able to cope with a lot of face-to-face inquiries. You need to have excellent customer service skills and excellent show knowledge. I'm not saying that as a volunteer for the first time, you couldn't do information. If you knew the show well enough and done your homework, you could still do the information booths. It's just that we need to have people that know the show to obviously be information booths. And the Yellow Brick Road booths, this role again, we have to be in place and ready to rock and roll by 9 o'clock in the morning. This role is for volunteers who are happy to handle cash, because we do sell the bags. I know we have had a problem with that in the past. And I think most of the booths shut at 7. Well, the one that we looked after was a quiet one which closed a little bit early. So volunteers in this role, they insert the map and the flyer into the bag. They explain the concept of the Yellow Brick Road to the people who are buying the bags, and then maybe have to answer any show specific questions. So as I said, we're planning to take over all the Yellow Brick Road booths this year, so that's a really good coup for us. So again, volunteers need to be friendly, excellent communication skills, and be happy to handle cash. The Volunteer Administration Centre sounds very grand, but it's a poky little office underneath the Derby stand. The master plan for the showground is that we have a fantastic new staff block underneath the Derby stand in a few years. I don't know when it's going to happen. But for now, we're in this little office with a marquee out the front. We are looking at other options, possibly to take a little corner of the Jubilee Pavilion, actually down there. So this role is for people who are good at administration work. It's a case of checking in and checking out the volunteers when they arrive for their shift. And then we also have radio control with all that information booth. So if they are really stuck at finding some information, we have all our spreadsheets and our website open, and we can communicate any information that people in our information booths can't find out. That's also a role for someone to jump out and just go and coordinate the street parade. So all the mascots that are in the street parade with the police band every day, they just go out and make sure that everyone's in place and send them off their way. And that's what they have to do with that role. That's quite easy. So that role, we do have some early bird shifts available for that, because we need to start at 8 o'clock, so we're there to sign in everyone else. It's also a place where we allocate meal vouchers to volunteers, and there could be a case of helping to prepare rosters for the next day. So it's quite a full-on admin role, that one. This is not a shot of our lost property from last year. I just thought I'd put it on the slide. We coordinated lost property for the first time last year, and it was a bit haphazard, and I'd just inherited this. Who did admin came up with this fantastic idea of creating a spreadsheet that would be able to record everything found, everything lost, and have it all itemised, so we could much easier to locate it and hand it back to its owner. So this is a role going forward we will definitely be doing, and having someone in place just to manage lost property. The Volunteer Administration Centre, sounds very grand, but it's a poky little office underneath the Derby stand. So all the mascots that are in the street parade with the police band every day, they just go out and make sure that everyone's in place and send them off their way. And that's what they have to do with that role. That's quite easy. Actually, I don't even know whether this is going to be a full-time role. It might be a casual role as well, because it's not going to be that hard to have that. You don't really do much to that one. So it's receiving found property and logging it on a spreadsheet, taking valuable items to the police station, such as wallets and IDs and phones, reunite lost property with their owners, and if you're lucky, you'll get flowers from their garden or chocolates and things. And then add lost property details to the spreadsheet. So volunteer needs to just be able to use Excel. It'll be very basic, but it's one of the things to do. Flying squad volunteers have no limits. They know pretty much all the roles. They're not allergic to animals. They're not scared of heights, and they'll be able to just go and jump into any role if we've got volunteers that are sick or we just need to have an extra break. So they're there to just help in any areas where they might need to cover for illness and fill gaps, or maybe just go and help out where we're particularly busy. So volunteers need to love meeting people, be organised, have excellent communication skills, happy to jump into any role. Secretary's Office Liaison, previously called a runner role. I'm not calling it that anymore. Scares everyone off. The Secretary's Office Liaison is someone who goes into our show office, and there's normally a tray of tickets that need to be delivered to gates to all the people that have forgotten their tickets, lost their tickets, need media passes. So it's just a case of being pretty fit to be able to walk through all our gates. You also have to possibly go and collect parcels or packages, maybe go and collect competition results from some of our competition sections. There is someone who also works in that role, so it will be assisting that person, Bob, with that role, Bobby, and also delivering newsletters to all our commercial exhibitors, so we're walking around the Jubilee and the Goyder. You do need to have a fairly good level of fitness for that role. And sometimes there might be a bit of downturn in the late afternoon, but normally beginning of the show in the morning, there's plenty of things that need doing. Jacob, rooftop tour guide. I've actually found some photos of our volunteers up on the roof, which is excellent. Now this role requires volunteers to have a little bit of training. We have to be very, very vigilant with work health and safety issues when we do this role. Not that you're teetering on the edge of the roof or anything like that. If you go to the end of the corridor where the toilets are, you'll see there's a door there. You go through that. There's some industrial steps that take you along a catwalk just along the side of the Goyder, and then there's some more steps, and you come out and you're standing on this big viewing platform over the solar panels of our roof. So it's just a case of taking a group of 20, I think it's the maximum, is that right, Peter? Maximum
Yep,
20 if you're lucky, going up onto the roof. Volunteers in that role have done a bit of training at Science Alive, where they take groups up pretty much every 20 minutes for the whole day. I think it's absolutely exhausting. I don't know how you do that role. So get a bit of training so you know your script. One of the volunteers actually does the talking, the other one brings up the rear, making sure that there are no stragglers and making sure that the control door has been shut behind. So it's just a case of going up there. I think we've got some more beehives going up there this year as well, so there will be a little blurb about beekeeping and honey, etc. I'm still not sure about the times either. I increased the numbers of sessions last year, and I don't know whether that was a good thing or a bad thing. But we're still working through that. So other roles for this year. Well, the street parade coordinator, as I said, that's with the admin role. We need sponsorship support. Now, our sponsorship manager was hoping to sell sponsorship to various companies during the Tinker Tailor performances. So it was, we were hoping to do leaflet drops and look after their VIPs, but that never came to fruition. But in the end, I think it was the Adelaide, I think it was the art gallery sponsored the event. So volunteers were having to do leaflet drops onto the chairs for the stage area for that. So again, that's happening with the Earth Mystical Journey. We do have another role which started last year, and it actually starts before the show. It's the competition prize coordinator. Now Marg, who is here, has been working in our office doing a sponsorship project, going through all our sponsors for the last 10 years for every section and seeing who's been on board for that length of time so we can actually start to recognise our long-term sponsors. And I know, Marg, you put your hand up for that role, and so there'll be sort of one other offering. Suzanne did it last year. I know she's not here to say whether she definitely wants to do that or not. Yellow Brick Road stamping booth. We won't be in the tech centre this year, but we will be doing essay citrus or citrus essay, and I'm not sure whether we'll be doing IGA either, because they were doing apples last year. I don't know whether we're doing that this year. The commercial exhibitor photographer. So the sales girls who look after all our commercial exhibitors need a photographic record of everyone's stand and exhibition. So we've had the same photographer for the last couple of years. She goes around and takes a photo of every single exhibitor during the show. So she builds a photographic record on a CD. Buddies, that's really self-explanatory. It's just our existing volunteers buddying up with new volunteers just for the first couple of days, just to help them out, make sure they're feeling welcome and loved and settled in, because it can be quite daunting when you just arrive on your first day and off you go. And also developing our team leader program. Last year was the first time we actually ran with team leaders. We were very, very tight, and I think everyone was a little bit overworked. That's something I'm very, very conscious of this year. How can I be a team leader? Well, you need to have volunteered for at least 2 years, and you need to know the show and all the roles. You need to know the roles pretty well. But apart from that criteria, that's pretty much it. We do a team building workshop and take on ideas and suggestions from everyone to build the program and make it a success. So that's something that is building and developing every year. How you can help us? Well, you can help us by attending the induction session. So if you are successful in your application, you'll receive a pack from us and a letter congratulating you that you've been successful, and doing a background police check, which we actually provide, we do for you. We have been granted phone, which is basically they're free police checks for us. So there is a process to go. So I don't want any of you jumping off and going to get it done and saying, here's my receipt, can you give me my money back? Because it doesn't work like that. There's a process that we go through, but we don't have to worry about that until you've been accepted onto the team. We provide you with a lot of literature. It will be online on your My Volunteer page. You'll be able to pick up any documents there, also from our website. But you've heard of that old adage, you can lead a horse to water if you can't make it drink. It's up to you as to how much information that you really want to take on board. Okay, now the shifts. This is really just a guide at the moment. Now last year I did longer shifts and tried to include lunch breaks as well as like a little morning tea break and a long break, and it's really, really hard to manage. So I've decided that I'm not going to do any shifts longer than 5 hours. I think there might be 1 or 2 exceptions, but we'll get to that. And so volunteers, you'll have a tea and coffee break in your shift. You will get a meal voucher, but your meal break will be once either before you've started your shift or after you finish your shift. So these are really just a guide at the moment. Some of the roles will be from 8:30 till 12:30. Some will be 10:30 till 2:30. And people that come on a little bit later in the morning will be, you need to expect that you might go and start relieving people in the information booths while they go and have a tea and coffee break. So you might be moved from place to place, but only if you've signed up to be in the information booths from 10:30. I would, if you signed up for that shift in information booths, that's what you'll probably be doing, moving around a little bit. And then the afternoon shift, 2:30 till 6:30. I know some of the shifts are in the Goida and the Jubilee. We need to have cover until, it is 8 o'clock, but it used to be 9 o'clock when the pavilion shut, but thankfully they've brought it forward an hour. So 8 o'clock is the absolute latest you could be on duty for. We ask that you let us know if you can't make any shifts so we can find cover as soon as possible. If you want to swap areas or aren't happy with your role, you must let us know so we can accommodate your requests. We want you to be happy with your role. So I don't want to hear anyone going, oh, I volunteered, oh, I really hated doing quilting, and I just, if you don't like it, you have to speak up because we can reassign you. Our expectations. We expect our volunteers to always be friendly and helpful and to never say, I don't know. There's plenty of alternatives to that same answer. Have a good level of customer service experience. You may not realise that even if you don't work directly in customer service, you've all got a level of customer service with how you present and market yourself. That's really your personal customer service. So even though you may not be directly involved in it, how you conduct yourself in everyday life. So everyone has got a certain degree of customer service. Be friendly and helpful and always have a smile. It's a fun event and we want you to have fun. Seek assistance if you are unclear. So either from, I know that our past volunteers will only be too happy to help you if you're lost, and also your team leader, and also coming back to the office and talking to us. We expect you to fulfill your roles as mutually agreed, be accountable for your actions, be courteous to show patrons, staff and other volunteers. What we provide you with. As a casual volunteer, you're only going to be doing 3 to 5 days. You have slightly different, I don't call it benefits, but you get slightly different benefits than you expect. I think that word. We provide a safe work health and safe compliant work area for everyone. That goes without saying. You will all receive polo shirts and a hat. However, how many polo shirts you get as a casual volunteer, it will probably be 2 still, I think. As a volunteer, you get an entry pass for the days you are involved, where that differs with a full-time volunteer. A full-time volunteer will get a show pass for all of the shows, so even if they're not volunteering on a particular day, they can still come and join the show if they want to. So casual volunteers will just get a pass to get them in on the days they're volunteering. They'll get a meal voucher, you get access to the volunteer exhibitor lounge, you get free parking in Netball Stadium, so that's on Railway Terrace. You park there, I give you a pass, you show it to the driver on the courtesy shuttle bus, and you get dropped off in the Goida forecourt here. Can't do anything on public transport, I'm afraid, but we can offer you the free parking in Netball Stadium. We review your feedback and suggestions daily. So at the end of the show, I collate a more comprehensive feedback from you, but on a day-to-day running, for instance, in the volunteer check-in office, I just had a jar of sweets, lollies, and someone wrote on the feedback form, oh, it would be really nice if we had fruit one day. So I then went round to my apple contact up in the Goida, and the next day I was able to provide this big basket of apples. So if we can actually work, implement feedback there and then, we will. So any suggestions like that, I quite like. I don't want any sort of whinging feedback, but feedback that's positive and easy to do, all very well. So yes, and as I said, at the end of the show, we have a much more comprehensive feedback, and that helps me just improve the programme on an ongoing basis. and ensure that you have a great Royal Adelaide Show experience. And then full-time volunteers, as I said, would the only difference really being is that they get all a show pass and an extra ticket for a friend or family member to come in on one day. Now, last year I implemented a uniform opportunity. What we've been finding in the past, the Royal Show can be that time of year where you get all 4 seasons in one day. Even though volunteers, some of the volunteer tops had long sleeves, we say you can wear something underneath, you can wear your own coat, but you have to wear one of our little shower jackets over the top to be identified. Volunteers were still getting cold, so last year we provided volunteers the opportunity to purchase their own coat. Now I do have a sample of one on the table if anyone wants to have a look at it as they're going out. But here we have one model. That is in Sydney Royal Show's volunteer area. I am so jealous of the amount of space they have. It is incredible. So I thought, when I visited the Sydney show last year, I thought, yes, that's what we want to have for our volunteers. So if you did want to purchase one, there are some available to try on at the interview time. They cost $46.30 plus GST. And if you wanted to have your name embroidered as well, that costs an extra $3.50 plus GST. So they do automatically come with the show logo on them. And then if you want to have your name printed on the other side, it costs a bit extra. So that's entirely up to you whether you want to purchase that or not. So what's next? Well, for new volunteers who have not yet applied, you've got up until the 15th of May, so you have got plenty of time to sign on. You can head to our website, theshow.com.au. Interviews are on the 28th and 29th of May, not for returning volunteers, it's only for new volunteers. And this year you have to book your own. I'm not chasing anyone up for an interview. I had to make about 300 phone calls last year. I'm not doing that this year. So if you are interested in being a volunteer, then you phone me up and book a spot. Then we send out notification the following week. Then there will be a process of doing an online work health and safety induction. Everyone has to do that every year, including me. All staff have to go through the online safety induction. And if your police check has expired within 2 years, then I would ask you to do another one. That information will all come out on the letters of offer that we send out at the beginning of June. When you are applying online, I'll be really grateful if you could fill in your date of birth. That's really more of an insurance thing than anything else. And I also need to know whether we need to celebrate during the show. The induction session, I'm moving it to the Saturday morning, not the Friday night. Hopefully we'll have a little bit more time to walk around the site and have a look at the location of information booths and where all the volunteer roles are actually located. And then there'll be a thank you morning tea on the 13th of October, so there's some dates for your diary there. If you were keen on being a solar panel tour guide, we would ask you for the first time, if you hadn't already been involved, to come along to Science Alive, which I believe is that's the beginning of August, just so you can have a little bit of training over that time. But pretty much the other roles are all learning on the job. This is the homepage of our website, and if you have not yet registered and would like to register online, there is a lovely button that our graphic designer has uploaded. All you need to do is hit that. I'm just going to so that takes you through to the volunteering. It's a bit unfortunate that employment is sitting on the same page as volunteering, but If you're interested in becoming a member of our dynamic team of volunteers, you can sign up here. And you should get to that page. Now, as a new volunteer, I know a lot of volunteering events are using Better Impact to manage their volunteers, and some of you may have gone off and done, I don't know whether Fringe use it or BOMAD or I don't know. So you may already have a login for Better Impact. I believe you can log in with the same number and then pick which event you are volunteering for. And as a returning volunteer, I would appreciate it if you would log in and just complete your health questions and make sure that all your details are up to date. So I've cleared everything from last year. So your health questions need to be redone because obviously things might have changed in the year. And availability. Now, the reason why I'd like to know your availability, because even though later on down the track you'll be able to sign up for shifts yourself, some people don't like doing it, and some people prefer that I actually sign them up. So I need to know the very earliest time you can volunteer on a day and the very latest time. It doesn't mean that you'll be volunteering for all that time, but a period within that time frame. It just helps me. And then if you are coming with your friend or husband and wife team and you're travelling together, just make a note in the notes section. Where you see one of these little eyes for information, you hover over it and it brings up information, and that's throughout all of the site once you're logged in. Now, qualifications, that helps me place you in roles. If you don't like working with animals, for instance, then just let me know you don't like working with animals and I'll make sure that you don't get put in the animal areas, and let me know your general level of fitness, etc., etc. And then once you're logged in, so this is what you'll see once you're registered, this front page. You can see all these tabs along the top here, so you go to My Profile, and as a returning volunteer it will be worth you going in there just if you've changed your address or updated your, changed your email address. Something new for this year is if you've completed the mobile email field, you will receive an email on your mobile, apparently. I'm going to use that this year. I don't think it's text, it's email, but that's what you can do. And then these tabs along here, all the ones that you can use. Now this sign up tab, there's nothing to sign up for yet, and there probably won't be till the beginning of July. So I'll be sending you out further information once I've got all the shifts up and running, and I will send you further information. Okay. So hopefully that will just give you a little bit of a tour around my volunteer page.
When will the My Volunteer page be up and running?
It is now.
It is now.
Yeah, you can go in it. So even if you follow the link, if you've got your username and password from last year, you should be able to log in with that if you've forgotten. Okay. Just send me an email. normally. I like to tell my volunteers no, but normally they'll tell me yes. If I'm perfectly honest. I would say it does depend, and it depends if you're rotating through your shift and whether you have access to breaks. If we've got enough volunteers to break you, if we've got seats that you can use as well in some areas. Some roles are sitting, some roles are standing, so you do have to have a fairly good level of fitness to volunteer. Volunteering at the, I've just said that, volunteering at the show requires a certain level of fitness, as walking and standing are involved in nearly all roles. We've talked about the availability. The interview, how long does the interview take? Please allow about 45 minutes to an hour. The interview itself only lasts is probably about 15 minutes, but there's also an opportunity for you to try on polo shirts, so 45 minutes to an hour probably is the length of time it will take. What is the uniform? The uniform is the polo shirts. A couple of you guys are wearing them today. We recommend you wear black, navy or beige trousers to complement your volunteer tops. You can also wear skirts and shorts as long as they're acceptable and not cut off denim and that sort of thing. The following are not accepted: tracksuit pants, ripped jeans, leggings, shorts and skirts above the knee. But apart from that, if you've got smart jeans, you want to wear smart jeans. And it's absolutely imperative that you wear comfortable shoes. If you need to buy new shoes, don't buy them the day before the show. You buy them a couple of weeks before and break them in. We want you to not go home on your first day with blisters. Now, over to you. What sort of questions do you have for me?
First up, let's see, my friend and I were first on volunteers.
Yes.
However, the machines up there, cause is that we are feeling that we want to be together.
Yes.
So, is there a guarantee?
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
When you say together, do you mean actually performing your roles together, or do you mean coming in on the same day?
No, performing our roles together.
Not sure, because you might need to be buddied up with someone that has already been a volunteer that's existing, or it might be that maybe some of the roles might not be for two people. So, but if you make a point, I will make every effort to put you together.
As the first time, that would be what we would like.
Okay.
Put it on our
Yes. Yep.
and,
I'll make it happen.
Right.
It's okay. Yes, Lynn.
First year at the book, we didn't have 2 areas to go to.
Yes. Heavy. Yes. Yeah, the heavy horse building. Yep.
But I was when you make coffees, they just know there's food on the cups.
Okay. What for the volunteers? All right. Well, that's something that I can sort out. You're meant to. I thought you'd be sitting there and having your coffee. You see.
I mean, you have enough time when we get back
Will
to
they?
you.
Okay. All right.
You have enough time when we get back to you.
Well, that's something we could have done there and then, because I could have just brought some over from this lounge. So bear that in mind for the show this year. Yes, Paul.
How long do the police checks last for?
Well, our organisation say for every 2 years they have to be renewed. So what I do, I've got that information in the system. So when you receive your letter of offer, it will let you know on there whether you need to get a new one done. Yes, Jill.
Apparently police checks are taking at least 3 months to get everyone.
Not ours. They know it's an event. They know that we've got a date to get them done by, so we've been quite. I think that's with the Department of Children. But they're.
So I took the paperwork to the police station.
Yes.
Took the special measures office, and it's been 6 weeks, and they said normally about 3 months.
Oh, okay. Yes, Tracy.
I'm sure the online one for me, because I've got 3 decks and for surplus having work, the online one for the show took 5 working days.
Yeah, they are pretty.
They do it. It's just now there was actually a write-up in the paper
Oh,
about it.
okay.
Yeah.
I think it's
I know it is a situation out there.
Yeah.
I think
It's just, you hear about these volunteers that all they've been doing is weeding the park for 20 years and they're not, you know, all of a sudden they've got to have a police check, being checked for working. It's gone crazy. Any more questions? Yes.
With the interview,
Mm-hmm.
is it like a formal interview or is there like a question that you can bring in?
Don't need to see your resume. It's really just a one-to-one chat, a one-on-one chat just to assess your suitability for volunteering at the show. So that's it. Not much involved really. And we just ask you a few questions. Yes.
Well, with that interview, when the signatures were attached to the gift.
I noticed. Yes. Yes. That's good. Yes, Jack.
Hi, Lucy.
Oh,
My pet
Vicky,
hate.
sorry.
That's all right. My pet hate mobile phone.
Yes.
Can you explain about our own mobile phones while we're on duty, please?
I would actually cover that in the induction.
Oh, right, okay.
And you'll receive that in all the literature and the handbook about our sort of mobile phone policy and all, but I need to use my phone, what if my family needs me? And if there is an emergency, we ask that you get your family member or friend to phone our office and they can get in contact with me and I can get in contact with you. Okay? And even if it was even more than that, you can do it through the police because the police are here. But we'll be discussing all of that sort of nitty-gritty stuff at the induction. Anything else? Well, thank you all for coming along. I know it's early. Last year the information sessions were in May, but my aim is to get everyone's paperwork done and dusted before the induction evening, so we can concentrate on the induction and not have to faff around doing paperwork. So, sorry, Linda. Yes, please. I can send it out in the mail and you can do a hard copy. So, although the online induction, you know, we encourage everyone to do the induction online if you really do not use a computer and would rather, I have got about half a dozen volunteers that I send a hard copy out to and I mark it off. Yeah, no, that's fine. Then we'll do a hard copy again. All right. So for past volunteers, there's not a huge amount to do unless you've got your police check needs updating, and it's kind of waiting until we've got all the shifts online and signing up for them. So that's really good to see you all. I can't wait to get going. Thank you all very much.